and welcome to this video about why learning about human design can help you be a better parent. Human design is something that's really new to me. So I have invited my dear friend Nina to join me and share with all of us about human design, and also to capture my authentic reaction. She has created charts, human design charts for both of my kids, which I have not seen yet. So this is going to be a really fun learning opportunity, but also an exploration for me to kind of unpack how my parenting can be assisted by understanding more about my children's human design. I'm really, really excited. So I want to introduce you to Nina, an incredibly just magical, inspirational, and dear friend of mine who has taught me already so much in my life and who I have invited here to teach all of us a little bit more, again, around how human design can help us be better parents. So, Nina, will you share a little bit just about what human design is and why you're so inspired to share with us about it?
Sure, my pleasure. And I want to say thank you, Anna, for inviting me into this opportunity. Um, as a projector in human design, which we'll talk about, I need to be invited in order to fully be in my design. So it feels very good to step into sharing now that you've recognized me and invited me to do so. Um, Human design is still new to me, I will say, even though I've been studying it for about 7 years. I've only been going in earnest with the goal to help others through the system. I've been studying it with that lens over the past, I would say, 2 years, year and a half. It's been in the back of my awareness that I wanted to get into this. But I say this because I'm aware of the vastness of this system. And as much as I know already, there's so much more to know. So I'm so excited that this system exists because it's helped me as a parent understand my daughter and myself and our interactions. And as Anna and I have talked, we have, you and I have had so many opportunities to recognize how our children function, and through human design it's just becoming more clear that it is by design, that there is no malfunction. So let me go back to what human design is. So simply, human design is a system that was downloaded by a person named Ra Uru Hu in the 1980s in a place in Ibiza. And he downloaded this system from what he calls the Voice. And this system is a combination of many ancient systems: astrology, the Kabbalah, the chakra system or chakra, quantum physics, and the I Ching, which corresponds with the genetic code. So there are 64 hexagrams in the I Ching with 6 lines each, and there are 64 codons in the human genetic code. So this is a deeper place to go once you first swim in the waters of human design. But essentially, it is an energetic system. It is a way to understand how our energy bodies communicate with each other, how our auras, I mean, you know more about auras from a healing aura energy perspective. I'm coming at it from a different way, like from a very philosophical approach. And you Anna have learned about auras, so you can illuminate my understanding of auras. But this human design system is truly a system of understanding how our auras function. And so I want to read a little more of what I prepared to share regarding what human design is. So through the body graph, which we'll see, you can see how the influences surrounding our creation, the influences that were in the sky when we were created, have come together and formed our genetic vibrational self. So the human design system is really, as I said, about how the aura functions and how each individual is part of this whole in humanity, and how we have this unique design for a very specific reason. We are designed in this way, as the ginkgo tree I see outside is designed to be the ginkgo tree and not the flowers in the flower box. They are different, they have different functions. Just for example. So we each have a different role to play, and when we're aligned with our design. So the human design chart, it has, and we'll look to this next, but I just want to tell and then end with this, that there are two sides that are important that make up the chart, which are the personality side and the design side. I have it. So the design side, if you're looking at the chart, is on the left. It's 88 days before the person is born. That's where the celestial bodies are, 88 days before the person is born. And then on the personality side, the conscious side, that is what we think of as the birth chart, the chart when someone is born. So those two sides and the placements of the celestial bodies create a map, a body graph, and there are gates of all those placements, and they create a unique energetic signature and vibration, essentially.
Amazing. I just
So much
learned
fun.
even more. I know there's
Oh,
so
good.
much to
Okay,
learn.
good. I'm
And
like, does she know this already? What does Anna know of this? Is this repeat? It has to be interesting for
it's
you, not just
so good. No, it's
okay,
so
good.
good. And first of all, every time I talk to you, Nina, I learn something new. Every time we talk, it's
Aw,
interesting. And
you
yeah,
do
and sometimes
it.
we
That's
do
why I
like
love you.
sometimes we do repeat topics, right? Like, and then
Yeah.
we can get even deeper, and that's what's so cool about it. Um, so yeah, I just learned a lot. And I did invite Nina here specifically because she is a projector, because she has really gone on a deep dive into this system and learning about it. And in our personal conversations, you've just been sharing like little bits with me, and I've gotten really curious about it. And we've done my chart, which has got me really excited. And it's really fun to see how all these things do kind of weave together or overlap. Because I know about myself, um, you know, from a very like surface level, like I do love to look at astrology. So, here I am, I'm a Capricorn. My first child who was born, my son, is Virgo. My second child, my daughter, is a Pisces. Like that already, tells me a lot. And it's kind of a fun thing to reference. But I'm also really, really interested in channeled or downloaded information that comes through. And a lot of what I've studied has been from people who have brought information or knowledge here, um, you know, through meditation, through like deep contemplation. And I also really connect with my own ability to have um, that access to like direct knowing. And one thing I will share too is that my second child, my daughter, she even as a young kid would just she would tell us things and we would say, "How did you know that?" And she'd say, "I just know." And we're so conditioned to be like, well, you didn't read a book about it or you don't have a degree in it. So how do you know? And she's like, I just know. And so I love that concept. And I love how there is so much ancient knowledge
Yeah.
that, really I think is beginning to connect so many of us around the globe together. And there's a new wave of that knowledge like arriving back on the planet. And so what Nina was referring to is that I have studied the anatomy of the human energy field and the anatomy of the chakras through the system that Dr. Barbara Ann Brennan laid out in her books, Hands of Light and Light Emerging. And I went through a 4-year degree program to study that and to learn how to support people, to understand the connection between our mental and emotional health and our physical health. And I really believe that the energy field or the aura really is that connective tissue that helps us really understand that link. So I love how, I can't remember the exact word you used, but when you were talking about how this, the chart that we're about to look at is kind of this,
Body chart.
um, the body chart.
Body chart.
To me, that's like this blueprint
Yeah.
of our energetic system, right?
Yeah.
That then impacts the person we become, our personality, as well as our
Right.
physical form and our physical health. And when we can be in alignment with what our natural state is, our natural energetic state, and be in clear alignment with that, we can experience such incredible, um, you know, just joy, ease, um, comfort,
Yes.
passion, purpose, success, prosperity.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
we aren't in alignment with that, and there's so many things that can knock us out of alignment or that can create blocks or twists or cracks or, all kinds of different energetic
Yes.
expressions that cause us to not be in alignment,
Life.
then we experience, yeah,
Life
just life.
happening.
Like
Yeah.
our
Yes.
families, our parents. So let's get into that, right? Um,
Yeah.
that that then we experience dis-ease and dis-ease or disease or discomfort. Um, and it can be really frustrating. And so, just to dive into this concept of why this is so helpful in parenting for me is that, often, um, and I just had a mother actually say this to me last weekend. She said, I just assumed because my child was like born from me that we would be like really similar. We would be like each other and we would enjoy each other's company. Like it's this
I know.
rule that exists that like if they're birthed from your body, you have to like get along. But no, actually, there's got to be some like cruel
Goodness.
cosmic joke up there because we usually get the exact opposite, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly what we need to feel that tension, to feel that contrast, which helps us both grow, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it can cause for a lot of frustration, a lot of struggle, especially in homes. And so when without knowing a ton yet about my kids' charts, and I'm really excited to dive into that. But what I and I'm
Oh, I've
curious.
been
So
holding it
I know I
in.
asked Nina to do this, and
Whoever's
then I said, but
watching,
don't tell me
he
anything
told
about it.
me,
And
what is it, like a week now or more that I've known your kids' charts and known, like, just now you said something about your daughter of Anna. And I was like, yeah, that's because she blah, blah, blah.
yeah, you can't tell me yet. So, but to finish setting the stage, my first child was born in 1999, and
Mm.
he is now 23 years old. And my daughter, my second child, was born in 2006. So she is now 16. And I've been on a real journey of discovering, moving from conflict and struggle and frustration in our home and moving through the waves and through the journey of discovering our own like peace, like partnership, cooperation, and joy in our home to the point where in the middle of a worldwide pandemic and lockdown, we could look at each other and say, well, at least we enjoy each other's company. And that's not to say we haven't struggled over the last few years. It's been hard for everyone, but I feel really blessed to have been able to discover what I have discovered about myself and my kids to help find that ease. And so I'm curious how their charts will reveal either like, ooh, that's something I've already discovered in another way, or like something that I didn't know yet that might help me for the future. So I'm really excited. Okay, so before we wait, I just realized we have one more thing to set
Okay.
in context that you
Okay.
didn't share about human design yet. So
Okay.
so what are all the types, Nina? What are all the
There are 5 types within the system, aura types: projector, approximately 20% of the population, 22%. Generators, which are broken down into two parts, but they're about 70% of the population, and about half are manifesting generators and half are just generators. And within manifesting generators, there are different types, but that's a separate issue. Then there are manifestors, and then there are reflectors. So these are types defined by what centers are defined and the connections between the centers.
Okay, and I've been wanting.
Go ahead.
Right, I just wanted to repeat back so I can, because that's my best way of learning.
Yes,
Because I've been wanting to. I've had a couple of conversations with people where I wanted to explain this. So we've got projectors, then we have generators, then we have manifesting generators, and then we have reflectors and
manifestors.
Okay.
So manifestors are about 9% of the population. They're the people who used to be like the kings and queens, the leaders, the bosses. That's shifting. Projector, that's shifting. Things are shifting. Reflectors are about 1% of the population. They don't have any centers defined. And yes, so and then there are the profile numbers. So there are 2 numbers in your profile, and you can have the combinations of, you can have 1 3, 2 4, 6 3. So these are energy. I will say what these numbers are, so that we can play with them. But just know that this system is complex and you're not meant to understand it all at once. So I'm just giving you some overview so that you can begin to swim in these waters, and then your being, however you process information through your, wherever your Mercury is and all your other, if you know astrology, then you can think about this in that way. You can understand, the energies of the planets, and then understand where they are and in the centers of the body, and begin to feel this system. But okay, what I was beginning to say is what the numbers are. So let me just go through this. So 1 is the 1 line. And again, this comes from the I Ching and the lines in the I Ching, which is an ancient system, which I'm learning more about, and we could have another conversation about, because it's foundational to understanding this system. So the 1 line is the investigator, philosopher. The 2 line is the hermit. So there's inherent, I'm going to speak into that for a minute, because you and I are the 2-4. The hermit has inherent knowledge, innate genius. It's like a savant. Like, it has knowledge it doesn't even realize it has. And it very is in line with the projector, right? Because the hermit, I'm always in my window. People are looking and can see me all the time. I'm working, but people are seeing what I'm working on, right? Like, people can see what I'm doing. So they could call me out, literally, figuratively. In the system, that's how it works. It's actually like, there's a house, and the first 3 lines are in the house, and then you get up on the roof, So the 2 line is the hermit. They're working, they're in their work, but they don't know their gifts. Okay. Then the 3 line, my husband is a 1-3 manifesting generator. So he's the investigator, philosopher in his conscious mind. The first line is the birth, when you're born. So that's the energy, the line of your conscious sun gate, right? So the line that my conscious sun, when I was born, Sagittarius, 29th of November, the placement of my sun, the line it was in, the 2 line, that's my conscious sun. So that's why I'm 2 first. So my husband is 1, right? That's investigator. And then 3, experiential or martyr. It's traditionally called the martyr. So they have to do trial and error. The 3 has to do trial and error. So remember this as we go. We'll refer back to this, because you're going to want to refer back to this once you find out about daughter and son. Okay. So then there's the 4 line, the opportunist. recognizing opportunity, aware of opportunity. We have this on our unconscious side. Our unconscious son, 88 days before we were born, the line it was in was the 4 line, not the gate, but the line of the gate.
Okay.
And the gates are, well, we'll get into why there are lines in the gates. That's a different thing, but it's just distinct energy within each gate, right? Distinct energy
Okay.
within.
And what was 4 again?
So 4 is the opportunist, and it's connecting with community. The opportunities come within community. So I'm looking at you and me being, projector 2-4. Of course, you and I are fine connecting together. The opportunities are together. Hello, we've been talking about this for 10 years. Hello, here we are. It's never going to be perfect. There's always a thing. I might always have to feel like I have to use the bathroom, fix my hair, whatever, take another sip,
Yeah, but here we are,
but
and we're
here we
building
are
community.
in the
Yes.
community, for the community, opportunities in the community we recognize. And in an unconscious side, we're called into that. That's not even our conscious side, right? This is our unconscious design. We're not even aware that, we might as well, we would just stay home working. But somewhere along the line, especially as a projector, someone, was like, hello, we recognize you, we need you, can you please step in? And it was you for me, for this conversation, right? Like, so I think we're gonna do this. So that's the 4 line, community, connecting, opportunity. The 5 line is the heretic, the creative rebel. Like, and now they're up there, right? Yeah, the 4 line is the first level of the upper level. So we have a little more overview. We're not quite at Hawk level though, you know what I mean? It's like a little overview at the 4 line. But the 5 line, the heretic, you're starting to see like overview, and you got some creative rebel energy going to, like, mix it up. And then the 6 line is on the roof. It's the highest line before you start the cycle again, and it's the role model. So they go in cycles, and it's related to Chiron, and there's 3 main cycles. It's 0 to 30, and then 30 to 50, and then 50 plus. Are you ready to see?
Yes, I can't wait. I can't wait. Okay, so that was a great foundation for us, just to know the types and the numbers. I think that that's going to give us a great a great perspective to just take in these charts that you have prepared. So let's go with my firstborn first, the son of Anna. Oh my goodness.
Right here. Let me get it ready to show you. Are we open to sun? We are open to sun. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. Okay, go.
This stuff is so fun. 1, 2, 3. Son of Anna. Oh, I have to press enter. Okay.
Ooh. So we may publish this also as a podcast. For those of you who are listening and maybe not watching, we have opened to the geneticmatrix.com website, where Nina has plugged in the birth information of my son, and we're looking at his chart. Okay, tell us what we're seeing.
Okay, well, I want to minimize. I want to move my face so that I can maximize son of Anna. Okay, can you see the whole body graph down to the
almost? I can there. Now I can see the whole thing.
Let me see. What are we missing on top? Nothing. Okay, great, perfect. Yeah. So, okay. So would you like to share anything
what I'm noticing?
Would you like to share anything that pops out at first, or would you like to share anything that first comes to mind when you think of how you and your son are most different?
So, okay. So first of all, I'm scanning this for words that I recognize, because I don't know what all of it means, but I do see the type as emotional manifesting generator. And somehow that felt so sweet to me. I was like, oh, that's my sweet boy. Oh. And of course, like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. He really like moves with strong emotions through the world and experiences things. I would say, yeah, definitely emotionally first.
Mhm.
So I'm all then the actually the first thing that struck me was immediately because I saw the top of it first that his mental centers are not um, colored in.
Mhm.
And that was interesting to me because those are that's the only one, my mental center is the only one that was colored in on my chart. And maybe we will look
Yeah.
at my chart later. So I'm already trying to like kind of extrapolate, like, what does that mean about our differences? And some of the ways that I think um again is really different is he moves through the world very physically. Like he's a very physical person, has been since a tiny toddler. And I was
Mm,
just saying this the other day. I was um, like he has been running for 22 and a half years because he started
right.
running at like 9 months old.
It's
And
this.
he does not stop.
My cursor. It's
Yeah, he
this.
moves. He's just moving, 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 grooving kind of guy.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and also again like very emotional, but also in a very like centered and logical way, which I've always attributed to the fact that he's Virgo. Like he is, you know he loves extreme sports. He has been sort of a quote unquote daredevil since again since he was running at 9 months old. And people were
Mhm.
like, your baby's at the top of the playground. And I was like, I know, I can't stop him.
Yeah.
And right away, like one of the first things we talked about was like, check the landing. Check the landing. Go, you can jump as long
Right.
as you know like what's on the other side. And so
Right.
in that way, he is really logical. Like he does check the landing. He likes to have all the gear. He likes to have all the equipment. And so he puts himself in really like risky, high adrenaline type situations, but in which he has already like planned it out quite a bit. Um,
Mm, mhm.
and so
Right.
that's kind of a little bit
Doing.
about him and what's coming up,
Mhm.
like all the things I'm thinking about him while I'm looking at this. So tell us more
Mhm.
about what this shows.
What you just said made me think of doing dangerous things safely,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's something I saw recently and it really resonated with me. So many things. He is a manifesting generator. So his
Mm-hmm.
sacral center here is defined.
Mm-hmm.
And definition comes from a channel, a full channel, so gate to gate between one center and the other. So this 14-2 channel is making it so that both this center, G center, and the sacral center are defined. So what defines a generator is the sacral center, and your son is designed to use up his sacral energy every day so he can feel okay.
Mm.
You know, I mean, that's like, you could use that as a slogan, like, expend your sacral energy every day so you can feel okay. Like they have to. Um, and he also, your son also, as a manifesting generator, is designed to find shortcuts to mastery,
Mm.
shortcuts to getting what he wants done. So whereas a generator is like chugging along, right? Like I'm gonna like put this like, you know, they're chugging along, but uh manifesting generator is like that quick manifesting ability. I want to read you a few things that I noted or just use my notes so that I can make sure to share this with you. So manifesting generator has a motor connected to the throat center. So you
Mm-hmm.
can see he's got his G center. This is the heart. This is solar plexus. This is the G center, like identity center. This is what projectors plug into. This is like the energy. I mean, we're plugging into the sacral, but also we recognize that G center. And we're like, oh yeah, that person. So he's got his throat center here connected through gate 33 and 13, right? G center, gate 13. I'll just tell you right now while we're here that the reason this is black and red is because he has combination of the design side and the personality side, or the unconscious side and the conscious side. So gate 13 is unconscious. So if we look to gate 13, that's his south node. That's where his south node was when he was born. 88 days before he was born. So that's his gate in his G center there. You know, it's really fun to explore that more. Then it goes to gate 33, which is on his conscious side or his personality side, which is interesting, which look at it. Can you see what that is? It's the opposite signal of the south node. So it's the north node. So the gate 13 is his unconscious south node, and his gate 33 that is connected to is his conscious north node.
Wow.
So I don't have his astrology pulled up. I don't remember his north and south and north node. I could put, that's a separate conversation, but that's fascinating. So let's get back to what a generator is. So he's got that, just interesting that that's what makes him a generator, that channel. So other people don't have the same placement in gate 33 and 13. That's what your son has. He has his north and south node there. So that is the channel that makes him a manifesting generator, because it connects, like with a manifester, it connects a motor to the throat. But he also has the sacral. That's where he is different than just a generator. So just a generator isn't going to have that center connected to the throat. Okay, so
I feel like I have to just say a couple of takeaways really quickly with just what you said.
Tell
It's like, oh my gosh, there's just so much there. So first of all, one of the things
I wasn't going to go into that. It's so weird.
Off camera, one of the things Nina was saying off camera was that as a projector, she picked up the outlet, and maybe I can pull that clip up so I can play it right in this place where you showed me the plug, and that the plug needs an outlet.
Plug issue is resolved.
Fabulous.
You know what's funny? As a projector, I am a plug looking for an outlet. I am literally like this. Okay. Looking for the place. That is, that's, perfect, fascinating.
And so, in that way, it's like when you have a cord and a plug, the cord has no power in it until it's actually in the outlet. Yeah. And yeah. And then when you were explaining this piece around the two line being the hermit doing their work, before he was born, I had this passion. I already had this passion. I wanted to work with children. I was studying early education. I knew that there was this direct knowing I had that the best way that I could serve in this lifetime to move us closer to peace, love, and harmony on the earth was to be with children, was to raise children, was to support a generation of children, to really be true stewards of the earth, to be, just their true selves, bringing their gifts as part of our community. Had this vision. But before he was born, I was very much doing that in a space that was very my own space. I was contained and I was kind of a quiet, more introverted person. And then this little guy came along and, he was running at 9 months and I couldn't keep him in the house. So it was like we'd wake up and we'd go down into town. We would get out of the house, we'd go down into town. And his first complete phrase at probably about 2 years old, 2.5 years old, was, "Hi, what's your name? Hi, what's your name? Hi, what's your name?" And he would go out and he knew everyone. And I was just saying that for a really long time. I was, "Oh, you're that kid's mom, right?" And that was my identity, was like, I was just the adult that followed this kid around. And at first I'd be like, "Shh, shh, we're not going to talk to everybody. Like, shh, we like, fine if you need to walk around, but we're not going to talk to everybody." But I couldn't stop him. I realized that that was his true person, was like he wanted to be out there, meeting and greeting everyone, and he would learn people's names and he would remember them. And then everyone, like, the people in shops and running, food carts, or even the bum in the alley, like everyone knew this kid. Like he didn't have any um anyway, he didn't have any judgments. He didn't, no filters. It was just like, and we made sure, again, risks within, safety, freedom within limits. Um, I just let him go for it. And that actually brought me out into the world. And I actually ended up starting a school. So I started my first school for we basically opened the day after he turned 3. I started opening it when he was like 2.5 years old. Um, and that like was a real turning point in my career that is, now accumulated over 20 years to this moment that I am here now. And so much of that is from this energy that he has brought to my life. So it's so cool. There was another thing I wanted to share, but I think that that's a good story to land with just seeing all of this energy in his system and knowing how these channels are complete, and how that's um it's just been so fun to see how that overlaps with my own journey.
I want to respond to what you just shared. I'll start by saying that a manifesting generator, and any generator for that matter, they must respond. That is their strategy. Whereas you and I are to wait for the invitation, they are to wait to respond. And then they can initiate the energy for it. They have all the energy we talked about, right? They have so much energy. They have a lot of different interests, so they can put a lot of energy into things quickly and figure it out, and then they're going to move to the next because they're really curious. And they have a charisma. They have this magnetic charisma, right? Like, I mean, they have the generator warmth. The generator, creates this sort of, whereas our penetrating projector has a penetrating aura. It's like, and people are either like, yeah, okay, or like, no, okay. And then the generator's like, I got you. Like, it's like warm, like holding, sort of not personal. It's not personal, but they attract, like, people are like, oh, like this person knows what to do, and like they can step into leadership, right? They've got that initiating energy. They've got that manifesting energy. So with your son specifically, is an emotional manifesting generator. His authority is from his solar plexus. Although he is an energy being and he is defined as a sacral energy being, like all generators, he has the emotional authority which overrides. So for him, it's very different than from you, Anna. And we could pull up your charts together to look at them, but let's just for now say Anna's chart, Anna's body graph has these two centers defined. Okay, the crown and the ajna, the head centers, and that's it. So this is very important piece, I would say of the whole thing, I feel this is most important, perhaps because I too am an emotional authority person, to understand this piece as a child, as a parent, as a being in a family. I feel this is crucial. This was like, okay, I'm going to say it simply. Saying that emotional authority people, which is 40% of the population, they have their solar plexus defined. They have a motor. That's a motor for digesting the emotions. The rest of the population, 53%, let's call it half the population, does not have a motor for the emotions. They feel emotions, but it's not digested in the same way. It's not processed in the same way. They're not living and getting clarity through the wave constantly, the way that emotional authorities are. However, let's say you, Anna, as the mother of this emotional authority son, it's interesting to say that because the solar plexus is the sun, right? So emotional authority, sun. Love that.
Mhm.
You and everyone, I'm learning, if you subscribe to this system and believe in this, which I do, those who are not emotional authority are going to feel in their being however they feel. They're going to feel the emotions and the ripples and the wave and the intensity of the emotional authority person. So for you, Anna, you could feel, most likely you could feel, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, your son's emotional waves and intensity as he's finding clarity. So for example, if he had strong feelings about, you know, what path to choose next, and he was getting sort of, or he didn't want to follow, like maybe around school, like the big feelings around school, right? And you might, as a projector with your open centers, and just know, your mental projector being just knows, and you don't get your authority from your emotions. You don't need to go through this wave. And you might be feeling his emotions, and then he might be feeling yours also, because you're a projector. So you're also projecting stuff. There's also projector
Right.
stuff going on, but it's different than the projection of the, it's different than the energy
So
exchange of the
I
axis.
want to
What do you
just
think
note,
about
and maybe I don't know if I can like hyperlink a little spot in the YouTube video here,
that?
but a couple of YouTube videos back that I published on this channel is one titled Disappointment Sucks, but maybe it's good for us. And I
Maybe
made
it's
that
good for
video.
us.
I made that video after really processing, a lot of emotions, with my son. And there, a huge emotion that came up over the last couple of years has been disappointment. I mean, it's been really disappointing as when you're a person on the move who likes to adventure and, well, yes, he ran for many years and then he got his driver's license at 16. He actually bought a car before he, well, at 15 and a half before he even had his driver's license. And so now he's been speeding in a car across the country.
That's so MG. That's so
Yeah,
MG. Go, go,
he's
go, 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 go,
so
go, go,
yeah, MG,
go, go, go.
manifesting generator. Go, go, go. And he,
Gotta go. And I'm
so
emotional about it. I'm emotional about my going, my comings
yes,
and going.
and then imagine it came to a stop all of a sudden, and everyone's like, "No,
Oh,
lockdown, no
and there's no
food."
place for the emotions to go and the energy to go. Mom, I gotta come home, but I've got all this energy. Mom, I'm coming home with all this. Ah.
Yeah, so we learned a lot about sitting with all of those feelings and, and being with that disappointment and being able to really hold space for it. It's a real skill and it's something, so
Yeah.
watch that video. We'll
Oh,
keep talking about that, but that's
I
just
love
one
that.
example of what you just talked about for
Yes.
sure.
In the system of human design, there's an understanding. It's based on, it's very complex, but you have to understand the idea of conditioning, and that we have been conditioned. And so in the system, someone is either behaving within the self or the not self. So as a projector, you and I, our strategy is to wait for the invitation. If we don't wait and we go out and we offer our wisdom without being invited, we are behaving in the not self. We're going to create the not self theme, which is bitterness. And so the move from the not self to the self in the projector journey is bitterness to success. So our signature of being in alignment, of being in the self, is success. For a manifesting generator, let me get back up to this. For a manifesting generator, it's a little different because okay, so yeah, so for a manifesting generator, their not self is frustration. For a generator, it's frustration. But because they're a manifesting generator, there's the anger, because that's the manifestor not self theme. So MGs have angry frustration, like it's like when they're not in alignment. Okay.
Oh my gosh, you did not want to meet this kid when he was 4, because frustration and anger was like pretty much like pedal to the metal on the frustration and anger. It was so hard.
Yeah, exactly. And the strategy then, when they are in, I don't know where all my notes went, but when they are in the when they are in, oh, there it is. Okay. So the manifestor is the generator signature is frustration, right? And with the MG, it's anger too. Then it's to satisfaction. Satisfaction is the signature of the MG or generator being in the self. So you know, when he's satisfied, right? He's used up his energy. He's focused where he wanted. He's got to the end of the emotional wave as a emo authority. And then as a projector, again, it's success. So there's, if you want to just talk briefly about the lines before we move on to your daughter, that would be great. So on the top of the chart, you can see on the personality side, his sun, his conscious sun, is in gate 40. So where his sun was when he was born, sweet Virgo child, that's where it was exactly. And line 3 is like specifically like to the degree of where it was. So line 3, do you remember what line 3 is by any chance? I mentioned you might want to remember.
Yeah, you did say it. You did say I should remember that one, but you have to tell me again.
Trial and error.
Oh yes.
Martyr.
Oh, I was gonna mention that right at the beginning. Because trial and error, I mean, come on. That's been our entire lifetime together, has been about me being able to create the space for him to go through that process of trial and error. And quick story, this is a story I tell about him all the time. He was with my mother and her boyfriend, and just to make the story short, I'll simplify it. There was a hot pan. My mom said, "Don't touch it, it's hot." He said, "No, it's okay." He grabbed the pan, he burnt his hand. The next morning, her boyfriend was working with a soldering iron, and her boyfriend said, "Don't touch that, it's hot." And he said, "I believe you." Got it. Right? He had to go through that trial and error to then be like, got it. Now I know.
Oh, son of Anna. I love you. Listen, it's so true. That's why my husband, who's MG 1-3, so he's subconscious trial and error, whereas yours is consciously aware of the trial and error. I believe you. Like, I know that my husband is subconsciously trial and error. He's not even aware of it. So I get to like, okay, well, let's just give this
Maybe
a try.
You should try it.
You should try it. Yes, let's see what happens. Okay. So then his other line. So can you tell where the line of his unconscious son? So we're gonna go to the
Well,
red.
I'm looking at the profile on the left, so I see that it's the 3-5. So now I'm
Oh,
remembering the words you use, so it's the heretic. But I'm also noticing, because of what you said before, the sun on the design side in red,
yes.
it says 16.5. So I'm assuming the 5 refers to the line.
Right. It's funny. I've trained
Got it.
myself now to get it from there. So I wasn't even looking because my notes are over the other side. So I'm just looking at the
Yeah.
body graph. But yes, so the personality line is the 3, and then I'm sorry, the conscious sun, personality sun is the 3, and then the unconscious design sun is the 5.
Hmm.
5 is the heretic. So the 5 is just gonna, do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Harder heretic.
And I can see how that is in his subconscious, because it is almost like through the conscious trial and error that he ends up really taking a unique path, right?
Yes.
And that's not always exactly his intention, but it is always the
Right.
direction he ends up going. Um,
Yeah.
and in that way, it's I'll say, just for his personality wise, again, the mayor of the town that's 2.5 years old, he knew everybody's name. He's very diplomatic in that way. He's very People want to be around him. Like you said, that warm hug,
Yes.
like people just feel comfortable around him. He feels
Added
he's
charisma.
he kind
Yeah.
of like fits in this way that's like, but yet he's like always taking this very alternative path. And it
Yes.
doesn't always feel like it matches for people. They're like, "Oh, look at this, very like grounded, logical young man," like, and then he's like up on top of a
Yeah.
mountain just like snowbirding
Yeah.
out, and like out
He
in the
gives like
backcountry. And
am I hearing you right? Because this is what I feel too about your son and also my husband, that like they give this energy of being this trustworthy leader, and they
mm,
are. And then they
mhm,
go and do it a little differently or a lot
mhm,
differently.
mhm,
And people are like, oh, okay, but they still like are going along with it because like, how can you not love them? Is it like
mhm.
that a
Yes,
little bit?
very much like that. Yeah.
And then the incarnation cross is what I wanted to mention, because the cross that he has is called the right angle cross. That's why it says RAX. Do you see that there?
Mhm.
So that means right angle cross of planning. And these are from his sun and his earth placements. So it's the cross of his conscious sun, conscious, the cross of the top two. And we are right now in the cross of planning. We've been in the cross of planning for a few hundred years, and we're moving out of the cross of planning into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which I told you about. I remember you were like, oh, right. So the cross of planning is about community, it's about contracts, it's about, yeah, you pay the electricity and there's an agreement that it will be there, or there's there are agreements between people and communities that have been holding things together, and we're
Mhm.
moving out of that. I also have the right angle cross of planning. I have the same gates as he does
Mm.
in my sun and my earth, but not in the same placements. It's very
Okay.
interesting.
Mhm.
um I think it's because my unconscious side is like around his birthday is like my 88 days before I was born.
Right,
Right?
right.
Right? I'm trying to turn my alarms off. My little alarms off. So yeah, I just wanted to say that his energy, which is awesome, that I just wanted to like I'm feeling into before we go into your daughter, is he is the 3-5 manifesting generator with emotional authority. So he's got this martyr heretic energy as we are transitioning from the cross of planning into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, and at the same time in 2027, as we go into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, that is when our whole energy, our whole genetic makeup is shifting, our whole energy system is shifting, and solar plexus is, there's a whole there's an evolution in the solar plexus happening right now. So he is taking his heretic, his trial and error, heretic energy, sacral energy, with his solar plexus, understanding the wave, with the full awareness of where we've been and the ability to bust through into this new energy. He's like, let's go. He's like designed like room, he's like a car designed to like bust through like a DeLorean, like through to the
future
age,
yes,
the next age. Yeah So room MG, that's
all right,
that's it.
All right, my son's at the wheel. I'm ready.
I found the note. I put it at the absolute top, and it's a 1-sentence note, and I feel like it's like very important to understand, to share. As parents, we may often react from our not self. So you could be in your conditioning, your not self, your bitterness, you're not feeling recognized, you're not feeling heard, and causing you to take action without being invited. And as a parent, it feels like we're supposed to. I mean, aren't we supposed to like step in and do things all the time? So as a parent, you could be I'm speaking as a projector and to you as a projector. So I'll stay on that, but each one has your not self theme. So if you're in your not self and you're stepping in and you're trying to do for them, you're trying to guide, and he's not hearing your guidance because you haven't been invited, and you're feeling bitter and unrecognized. And then you're trying to guide from your inner authority, which for you is body. It's here. And your whole body resonates and knows, and it's completely different than your son. And so for you as a mom, and for any mother or parent listening, parent or father or caregiver, anyone in a relationship with anyone else, of course we try to guide from our inner guidance. I have emotional authority. I try to guide people from that place, but it doesn't resonate. So I could see where like the not self and the not appropriate authority come together, and there's nothing, how have we been parenting at all without this information is sort of like what I come around to when I look into this. So yeah.
And just to follow up with, with the constellation of myself and my son in particular, when I'm acting without being invited and trying to give, advice or structure, and then I'm often met with his not self, which is the frustration and anger. But if I take that pause and wait, and he invites me in, that's when I feel successful and he feels satisfied.
Yes, exactly. When you are in yourself and you can recognize yourself and wait, and he can respond. As a projector, you can ask very good questions that can guide him or anyone to respond. And it's not imposing. It's, do you need a tool?
Yeah. One of the best questions I've learned to ask kids is, what's your plan? And, and then for him, he gets to go through his trial and error. His plan he's a planning, he goes through his trial and error. He's like, well, I'm going to try this, then I'm going to try that, then I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
And then I say, okay. And I wait. And then, when it gets to a certain point, if and when there's that invitation, he'll look to me and he'll say, could you help me with this? Once he's gotten to that point, then I'm invited in.
Then you're invited. Yes.
Yeah.
Proper alignment. Yes, the satisfaction and success is very important to recognize. Thank you for bringing that in, the signatures that we are in alignment with ourselves. Yeah. So this is Anna's chart. I just thought that I'd bring it up as in the interim. We've been talking about
Okay, a
it.
good segue. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've been talking about it. It's very mental that we were just talking about it and not showing it. So anything you want to, your
No,
right
just
angle.
taking it in again, for those who might be listening, we're looking at a chart that is an image of a torso and a head. And that is what the human design body charts look like. And they show triangles and squares. So the top triangle is facing up, the triangle underneath it is facing down, and those are both placed on the head. And both of mine are lit up. The top one is yellow and the bottom one is green. Then below that, around the throat, is a square. Under that is actually like a diamond shape. Under that are two more squares. And then there's two triangles on the right side as I'm looking at it, and one on the left. And none of those others, the only two lit up on my chart are those top two, and all the others are open. Which is, it shocks me every time I see it. And I guess maybe that's because you said, because the rest are open, I feel it with my whole body, which is really how I like identify as like a person who really feels a lot. And I feel very like heart-centered person. But it makes a lot of sense that I have all these open centers. But I also have this thing, I'm putting my hands over my head, where I just know things, and I like to like untangle knots or solve problems. Like I like thinking through dynamic equations. And so that's what's fun about learning about this system, is as a mental projector, the way that I sit back and observe and solve problems, then when I'm invited, right, to offer support, I often have a lot to offer. a lot of thoughts, about that.
Go back to now. Are you ready to look at
Yes.
daughter Anna?
The daughter, the second child. Oh my goodness. So this is so interesting. What I'm noticing is that I'm just noticing this because I've never seen this on any of the charts I've seen so far, because in between each of the centers are these lines, are these channels, and when they're filled in, like you've been talking about those places where they're completed. And
Right.
These are the longest ones I've ever seen. Like in other charts where I've seen them complete, or at least on my chart, there's only one very short one complete. And so it's wild to see that she's got all these completed channels. I don't know what that means, but it's just making
you
me
have
curious.
one channel. Both your children have the channel of the prodigal, the 1-3-3-3.
Whoa.
3. Yeah.
Right, the 13 and the 33. I see that. And hers is also both red and black, which is also really interesting.
So the red and black, do you remember what I said about the red and black?
It's both the personality and the design sides completed there. Right. So whatever that.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know, because I'm not noticing where the numbers correspond on this one. Is it her moon?
Look at gate 16. Yeah, let's look at gate 16, which is in the throat center. So gate 16 has red and black on it. And that means that gate 16 exists both on the design side and on the personality side. So let's look down. Yes, moon 16 on the design side, so the subconscious side, 88 days before birth. And then gate 16 on her birth side, her personality, conscious side, is Mars. So she's got both, you know, gate 16 has a definition on both design, you know, conscious and unconscious. That's like significant. And that the reason it's long is because it's a connection from the throat center to the spleen. And yours are just, you know, from the crown to the ajna to the crown. You're just like having a conversation up here. And she's, you know, she's feeling her immediate knowing. The spleen, like a light, like yes, no, on, off.
Oh my gosh, completely. I mean, in that way, I had mentioned that
And
already
then she'll
earlier,
tell
right?
you.
Like, yeah,
And then
she just knows.
manifest her. Like,
Yeah.
so she's going
And
to
she,
inform people around her. She has to. Otherwise, if she doesn't, you're not prepared for what she's doing and initiating. So her strategy is to inform. Otherwise, no bueno.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, so
That's
the quick
inform.
story that like is this, that with I had understood this could have gone so much better, was that there was a scenario in which a small art program she was in, the teacher had prepared for an overnight for 4 kids. There were just 4 kids in this program, and they were getting to become close friends. And the teacher wanted to facilitate that and really help them have this connection. So she was like, "We're going to do a sleepover." Everything was planned. You know, I had packed all of her things, my daughter's things. They were in the car. We were on our way to the art studio, and it was like, no,
No.
something
Oh yeah.
doesn't feel right. Something
Yep.
doesn't feel right.
Yep.
It's been canceled. And I was like,
Yep.
it's not canceled. Get in there. I pull up to the art studio. I'm like, get your sleeping bag, get your pillow, like get in there. No, you know, and we had to have this moment in the car where
Like
like
an
butting heads
animal.
about
She
it.
just knows. Yeah.
No, she's just like, no. And, you know, luckily I was at least enough in my grace that I backed down a little bit and I was like, this is ridiculous, but I will let you walk in without carrying the sleeping bag and pillow because you're feeling that strongly about it. Fine. Art class was still on, but as soon as she walked in, sure enough, the sleepover had been canceled and no one else had all their things with them and their bag and their sleeping bag and their pillow. Which is kind of what she was telling me. Like, it just doesn't feel right to walk in there. I'm going to be the only one carrying the sleeping bag and pillow. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Sure enough, when I got home and I checked my email, I had gotten an email earlier that morning that the sleepover was canceled or rescheduled. You know, she was right.
Wow.
She knew. She just felt it.
Know.
And it was just like, and she let me know.
Oh my God, that is amazing. She has splenic authority. That's not a motor, but that's where she has her authority. Her motor, she does have a motor, and that's her heart or her will center. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Right. But some manifestors don't, you know, like it does. They always have a motor, but they don't have sacral. So they don't have consistent energy, but every manifestor, which is what defines also a manifesting generator, it's the same as your son. Both your son and daughter have something you don't have, many things, but this is one big thing that they have, which is a motor connected to their throat center, right? So a full channel, that's what it is. I have this energy and I know how to talk about, and I know what I think about it, and I know what I'm going to say about it. And it's my throat center. I'm expressing it, right? Excuse me. Your daughter, unlike your son, your daughter does not have consistent energy because she doesn't have her sacral. So what's unique about her sacral defined? What's unique about manifesting, about manifestors is they do have initiating energy, like we just talked about, and we can go back to her splenic knowing. She's going to know, yes, no, light on. It's the brain. It's the primal brain, right? She's in the
Mm.
primal brain. That's why she knew the sleepover was off, right? Like she's going to know if a tornado is coming or
Mhm.
whatever. She's
Yeah,
going to
and I
know if
want
the
to,
vibe's off.
for
Yeah.
those people who have watched some of my previous videos here, I've talked about both of my kids and how they are really different people and they're really different learners and they have different styles. And so when I think about her energy, right, this idea of motor and like what kind of like like when she like has that drive, when she brings the
Mhm.
energy, when she's like active or
Right.
activated, it's
Mhm.
very much associated with her knowing, with her feeling, knowing, and speaking it. And it's very will oriented. It's like,
Mhm.
and once her will is activated, like that's
Mhm.
it. Everyone is doing her will.
Oh,
Everyone around
amazing.
her,
I
and
know.
it's when it's
Yes,
so clear.
I witnessed. Yes, but when it's not, she's just. It seems like there's
She's just
no like she doesn't care. It almost
right.
seems like she doesn't care when there's not. And you know what? My daughter, she's a projector, but she's splenic authority as well. And it's just like yes or no. Like we were at the doctor's yesterday. She's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. No. Or just like things that she know, she'll just change her mind in a moment. Like you know, no. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, but now it's a no.
Yeah. So a great example is, because this is what I talk a lot about my daughter in learning, is that she just, again, like it almost seems like she doesn't care. She just like retreats away to her room where
Mhm.
she surrounds
Yes.
herself with her art and her writing and her reading and, and her creativity. And she could just be in there alone for hours. She's not the one like my son out there being like, "What's your name?" She's like, "You know what? I'll ask your name if I'm interested. But right now, like I'm into something over here." And she gets like
Yeah.
fully just immersed. But then, you know, for high school, she decided to step into the public school system. And one of the first papers she had to write, not the first, but it was actually a teacher asked her about, around the holidays to write a like Thanksgiving paper about what she was thankful for. And when and it
I
was
think
so interesting because here's this kid who loves to write, and as soon as like something, she's like, "This doesn't feel right." As a white
yeah.
female, a white cisgendered female who is born to European descendants, it does not feel right to me to be writing about what I am grateful for on Thanksgiving
No.
when this holiday represents so much of what's just so wrong with this country. And it was like her hands, she's like, she kept doing this. She's like, "My hands just feel weird." She's like, "I can't. I literally cannot
Yeah,
write it."
no, I know. That's how my daughter gets too. And I've seen your daughter get like that. And literally their body won't let them because it's survival because their authority is survival. And they know that
Mm,
everything in their being is like, this is, and what's so beautiful, especially because I know her, with the astrology and everything is, it's not just survival. Like, will I be okay? Because you could think, oh, survival would lead her to write the letter. It's like survival on this humanitarian level. I'm
yes,
feeling
and
your
it's the
daughter.
survival of her autonomy. It's the survival
It's
of
the
her
survival of
clarity.
her autonomy. That
Yeah.
is what the child needs the most, the survival of their autonomy, and they will fight against it. And everyone's autonomy looks different.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when she's very clear about, like, when she has that clarity and that all those, all these channels we're looking at right now that are connected, right, to this place of her, of where her energy comes in with that will and
Yeah.
her knowing that she just feels so deeply and she's ready to express it.
Ooh,
It's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the authority, you're the teacher, you're the boss. Like she will follow her inner authority. And she is so clear on that.
yeah. And
Mhm.
you have to follow as her parent. Follow
Yeah.
the child, follow the child's clarity, follow the child's inner authority and their clarity
Mhm.
from their inner authority, because you can come in, and that's really, that's the meta message for me when I look at human design charts. It's like, who am I with my design to overlay my emotional authority over my daughter's splenic authority? She's looking at me like, what? What's wrong with you? She's like, I just know, and that looks fun to me. Like I'm envious of that a little bit. I look at your daughter and I look at my daughter, and I can feel their aversion in their bodies when they when they need to say no, but the world around them is conditioning them to say yes. And that's where that conditioning comes in, where parents can either
Mm,
be part of the continued conditioning, which we all receive, and
mm.
parents can be part of the child being in the not self until they're old enough to find human design, or until they go to the next universe. Are you feeling it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they can be part of the unconditioning. But it's empowering for us to know the other's design and to respect the other's design
Mhm.
instead of trying to make the other like us. And without this map, I just was doing, first of all, what my mom did, and also like what I thought I was supposed to do. Like, similar to in the classroom, when I first was in a Montessori classroom, and I was like, like looking over like this kid who was working so beautifully and patiently, and the head of the school was like observing, and she she just sort of like, you know whisked me away, whatever, sort of,
Shooed you? It looks like she's shooing you.
pushed me away, aired me away, and she said, just leave her alone, she's fine. I still remember exactly the moment, and it's challenging to leave someone alone. But I think when we see a child's
Mm,
design and we see our own design, there's a peace that can come from leaving us alone, leaving the child alone, leaving ourselves alone as parents, to be in our design and to really recalibrate to how we are made to flow, how our energy is made to flow, instead of trying to be like this outside conditioning, which
yeah.
we know doesn't work.
I want to speak to that because that was what I was feeling so deeply. And that's what I feel like is a big part of my mission in wanting to um, support families to be able to do things differently. And what I think a lot of caregivers and parents are asking me right now is like, I don't know how to do it differently, but I know there has to be another way. Right. And what they're really asking is like, how do I not condition my kids the same
Yeah,
way I was conditioned? Because it's the only thing I know.
yeah,
And it can be so habitual. It becomes, and it does become a habitual energetic pattern in our systems because we've been conditioned to run our energy in that way, that like, which is often like this controlling, like a, even that benign image of you like leaning over to watch this child in deep concentration, like it's this way that we kind of want to do this thing. We're like, what are you doing? How can I kind of
from the
control
roof.
it and shape it? Yeah.
I'm the role model, I know. Meanwhile, you're like down in the dirt. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and when we can step into, you know, I use the word truth a lot really just to mean like what's my truth and what's your
Mm,
truth and what's my child's truth, right? And that place where I feel like when you're talking about it with these charts, it's like that's the self, not the not self, right? And
yes.
how can we better align ourselves in our truth and in our self, um, and then leave space for our children to be aligned with their truth and their true self so that we can stop acting from the not self, because that's where all this conflict arises.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult because we really have the unfortunately the role models we have set for us were like
Yeah.
they were forced to not be in their selves, so they felt like they needed to force us to not be in ourselves, right? And
Right.
it's this conditioning of being part of the system. And I want to say that our daughters especially are really challenging that. And when I
Yeah.
hear someone say like, oh, I mean, I've heard people even say this about 10-month old children, Like,
Yeah.
oh, she's just, she's just so, what's some of the words people use? Like, she's just so bossy, or she just knows what she wants and she won't take anything else. And I'm like, whatever you do, don't stop that. We need
Yeah.
more of that. We need more, of that divine feminine, that trust and that knowing and that directness. So if you have a child that has that kind of clarity, um, you know, you just have to ask yourself, how can I keep stepping back? How can I be more in my true self? Because that's the role modeling we want to do, right? That's this, like, how do I do it differently? I think is really this place of like stepping more. And for me, a lot of times it's stepping back. And maybe that is because I'm a projector and I need to keep reminding myself to wait for the invitation and to keep, standing in the places where I can observe, and I can create, and then I can offer when the time is right. Um and
Mm.
so, yeah, how do we align more with our truth? Because then that sets an example and almost gives permission to our children to step into their truth. And
It,
this is
yeah.
so exciting. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say, just in reaction, right? Siblings. It's so interesting to look at
Mm.
siblings, because then that, sometimes their design or their personalities can clash. The way they want to do things are different, and it can be really challenging as a parent to have children going in two different, really different directions. And so one
Mm.
of the things that my son used to say, because he's got to feel all the waves, right? He's got to feel it all.
Mhm.
It's this whole process, trial and error. It's like this, lots of
Oh yeah.
energy, right? And here
Oh
is my
yeah.
daughter. Meanwhile, she's just sitting back, she's just like, just
Yeah.
relaxing. She just,
Drinking her
and
special drinks and,
yeah.
waiting for the
And in
clarity to come.
And to him, it looks
Yeah.
like maybe she's being lazy, or like she's not
Right.
trying hard enough. And so sometimes he says,
Right.
like, it's not
Oh yeah.
fair.
Generators are like, what the F or the mess are
Yeah,
you doing? What are you guys
it's
doing
not
sitting
fair.
around?
You don't push her
Oh,
hard enough, right? Like, it's not fair.
yeah.
And so one of the phrases that has
That's
been very popular,
frustration.
yeah, he gets really frustrated, right?
Yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
have to go over and over again. Fair does not mean same. And I say over and over again, fair does not mean same. Fair means everyone gets what they need. And this
Yeah.
is what you need right now. Like, you're really, like, you need the space to keep, I wish I had this language. This is the language I didn't have. Like, you need the space to feel all of this, to keep to go through the trial and error. Like, you need the opportunities to be physical, to
Yeah.
be on the move, right? And she needs space to be quiet and to be thoughtful, and then to move when she feels it, right? And so
It's so funny
it's so cool.
because we think like it's not fair. They're supposed to be like me. You're supposed to be like me. You're supposed to have the same struggles as me or whatever. But there are a few things like that I want to share related to this about my
Mm.
daughter, if I may. Um, First of all, yes, being in our self helps them be in their self. And for a manifester, your daughter, the process from not self to self is from anger to peace. So it's
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And that is, and I just jumped ahead because I looked at the profile numbers and the
I
4-6.
know the numbers.
And
Yeah, I
it's
know that's
I
where
because
you're
you
going.
because you taught me about that in this session, and it was like the new
I
thing I'm learning.
know.
I'm like really into it.
Yes.
But that's
So
so
good.
cool, because to move from anger to peace is exactly what she has taught me.
Yeah.
And it's been so beautiful. So to see that she's this opportunistic role model.
Yes.
Oh my
And
gosh, that
her
is,
conscious son is your unconscious son line.
oh my goodness.
Right?
It's so
Yeah,
here's my
she's
unconscious.
consciously in the opportunity. She's consciously in the community. She's consciously aware of the opportunities to step into, and she knows exactly when to. Whereas, you kind of got to feel, and there's a mental process a little, and it's, but she also is a role model without knowing it, unconsciously.
Which is so
Totally,
cool.
right? Like,
Which
that's
everyone
so
knows
her.
about her. As soon as
I
you see her,
know.
you just know that she's like,
Yeah.
everyone's like, whoa, right?
I
And
know.
she's like, what?
I know.
What?
I know. And it's
mean,
often
what?
like the profile numbers often, like, it's so fun to know you're a manifestor or projector or whatever, but profile numbers, I think some people feel like they are the most, like, you might have the most in common with other 2-4s. That's why, like, you and I mean, it's a lot, even though there's a lot of differences, we're both 2-4s. That's a
Right.
just basic similarity of energy patterns there, of how we think about ourselves and how other people see us. And for your daughter, it's so clear to me that she's aware of opportunities and she's totally unaware of how people look up to her and like how she's a role model. But it will become to be more conscious in this. The 6th line, my daughter as well is a, is she a 3-6? Hold on. She's a 6 also. She
Obviously they're on the roof together.
They're hanging on the roof together with their splenic authority, and they, you can't tell. And Aquarius and Pisces, I mean, they're like, y'all, we're bringing in the future.
The sleeping phoenix.
Follow us or please buy it. Take your solar plexus. I know that's we're going to be dealing with you. We know you have something to teach us too, but please just, and I think the 6th line, it's fun. The 6th line and the splenic authority is beautiful because the 6th line is this, evolved line in a way, right? You're sort of at the end of this process. And the splenic authority is that early knowing, that primal knowing. So I love the combination of the splenic authority and the role model, because that's what we need right now, this role modeling, knowing, role modeling, intuition, and your daughter's like, I got you, like, I feel like, and like my daughter's like, I got that, I can role model knowing and just being in my knowingness. So
and it's so beautiful because that role modeling is from the subconscious, so it doesn't come with that same like ego or arrogance, which is so cool.
It's so subconscious cool. It's a confidence, it just comes in the confidence in the other people feel safe. I mean, I see your daughter and I see my daughter and I see this grounded confidence in their knowing. That's really what that energy of like, I got this because I trust myself. I can trust myself.
So the story that I really want to tell, that was like in this combination moment, as you're looking at those themes, that her not self is anger and like moving towards her true self is peace. So from anger to peace, you were sharing that with me while I was looking at the profile numbers and looking at that opportunistic role model. And the story that popped into my head was, because this has to do with this piece around conditioning. So early on, I was a young parent and my kids are, 6.5 years apart. So I had a lot of space between the two. And in my first sort of, go at being a parent, I very much like pulled in a lot of the conditioning from my childhood, which was very much around authoritarian rule with intimidation. It was just like, you will do like you will make the right choices, you will do the right thing, like, and and I had this like look that I could give my son, this look that was like, from across the room, like, make a good choice, and so here comes
no discussion.
Here comes my splenic manifester and this Pisces, I always say she's like this fiery water, like, warrior princess.
Fire on the water.
Yeah. Like,
fire on the water.
Like, it's happening right now. And I would give her this look and she would just, She just laughed. She's like,
I know.
she just laughed. She's like, oh,
Oh
that's
yeah.
cute. It was just like, that's cute, like, let's just move towards peace. Like, it was just like, and it was so easy. It was so easy. And
Mm,
so that was another part where my son was like, this isn't fair. Like, you don't give her timeouts. You
mm.
don't do the same like authoritarian
Well, he
discipline.
engaged in the emotion, his emotional self was engaged in a way hers wasn't, so she could
Yeah.
just circumnavigate that crap.
She's just like,
He's like, that's not fair. Her emotional
like,
body isn't engaged. She doesn't care.
I'm
Right?
like,
In a
sit in the
way.
chair. She's like, you know what? I think I want to sit in the chair right now. And it's just like, I'm going to
Yeah.
choose to sit in the chair because I like sitting in chairs. Sitting in chairs is fun. And I was like, no,
Oh my
this is
God.
supposed to
My
be
daughter's so
punishment.
similar. Yes. She doesn't laugh at me,
And
but she's just like, no, that's like, why? No, like,
why? That's mean. Yeah, she's just like, come on.
what? No,
And
be
so
fair.
over time, it just became really clear, like, this just isn't working. So in
Yeah.
that way, she was being a role model. She was like taking the opportunity and like modeling this sense of peace for me that like was the parent that I became. Because I mean, I literally felt like I didn't have a choice. I mean, it wasn't going to work for me to continue to try to be angry or intimidating to get anything done. I mean, it just was like not helpful.
Yeah.
It was not effective. And it was like this moment that
So what? Oh.
I remember this moment where I sat there and I thought, I'm just hurting myself right now. Like, it doesn't actually feel good to try to be like, I'm tough and I'm strong and I'm bigger than you. And I'm like, that is like, I don't even have the energy to use, right? I don't even have that like sustainable energy in my motor centers to like keep me going with all of that. Like, it just would deplete
I mean,
me.
unless you have a generator, see, I gotta say, this is fascinating. Work with your son because he's a generator. So he was
plenty of energy.
providing you the energy to be dictatorial. Sorry, you're gonna spit your water out. But seriously, he was providing you the energy, but it didn't work because he didn't really invite you in and did it. It's just
no, it was just like more frustration and
Yeah.
more, it's like
it wasn't in
and
line.
we had to we took I followed his emotional flow to could find that satisfaction and that success.
Sure.
But with her, it was
but her,
peace.
no way.
It's peace.
She didn't even have the energy. There's no energy to sustain the fight, first of all.
Yeah. She literally just like, so there another quick story. Now that I'm remembering, this is another story of when she got put in timeout.
The only motor in that situation is her will center. And so that's definitely overpowering you in that situation.
Oh, every time. And that's the thing. And then she did it at school. So again, many people have watched my videos know that I've homeschooled, and a big inspiration for homeschooling was my daughter, but she did spend the first couple of years in the public school, and her first week in kindergarten, she was sent to the principal's office. Her first week, right? So she's at the circle, kindergarten circle, sitting on the rug. And she's like flapping her legs around. It's like crisscross applesauce, everyone crisscross applesauce. But every time she like flaps her legs around, the other kids start laughing. And the teacher had just explained the like 3 steps till you get sent to the principal's office. So it was like, first step, hey kid, stop moving your legs. Second step, this is a warning. If you don't stop moving your legs, you'll be sent to the chair. She kept moving her legs because all the other kids kept laughing, and it was so great. Yeah. So, kid, you've got to have to go to the chair. And as she's walking to the chair, she says, when I grow up, I'm going to be a teacher so I can boss everyone around.
Ooh, I love it. I love her so much. Oh, swing to the principal's office. None of that lip.
The sweetest thing was that the teacher was like, at that point, now the whole class is laughing, and now I almost can't help but laugh because it really was like so funny. But she was like, I had just told everyone what the steps were, and I had to like use her to set the example.
This is life in a nutshell.
But she was like, I had to because
the teacher doesn't want to be in the conditioning either. The teacher's like, set me free from the conditioning.
Like, this
Please.
kid is so brilliant and satirically hilarious at 5 years old. Like, I I
The
wanted
teacher's
to.
probably a reflector trying to be like a generator. It's not working. Like they don't know. Everyone's trying to keep up a messed up conditioning. And then everyone's what, stuck in frustration, anger, bitterness, you
Mm,
know.
I know. So
Whereas
in that, I
we
just,
could just
yeah, I
accept
just,
that some people like your daughter are meant to lead us. She is a manifester. They are the old kings and queens of, yesteryear. Okay. They are the leaders. They're
oh,
just
that's
having
why
to
I
like,
call her that. She's my princess warrior, because she really
yeah.
is. She really has come in as royalty. Trust me. It's
But
still
the
that way in
projectors
the
are
house.
the new leaders. The projectors are the
Yeah.
new leaders from behind, but we're not with the royalty vibe. It's not with the
Right.
royalty vibe. It's not with the ego vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And manifestor doesn't have to be the ego vibe either, but I think that they do have, there is an awareness in their being that they have this motor connected to their throat center. They are able to manifest and initiate.
Mm-hmm.
And especially your splenic, your daughter knows. And so what's interesting is how complementary, I'll say it that way, complementary your charts are together. You can imagine your chart and your son's and your daughter's together, and every center is defined except for the root center. Though I imagine your husband has the root center defined. So maybe
Complete.
as a family that you are,
Complete.
there are many different
Mm.
names for that. That's a different conversation. But it's interesting to see how you have complementary authorities and, complementary types and profiles. And clearly, when we push against it, it doesn't work. And you knew you were pushing against it without knowing what your human design was. It's interesting to even look at astrology just briefly. You and your son are both earth signs, and your daughter is a water sign. And it's like vapor, right? Pisces, it's like vapor. And it can do a lot, but it's not necessarily, can't really track it down necessarily.
Yeah.
um and so it's just
Oh,
interesting to feel the energies of your family, and so you and your son could really get into that emotional authority stuff, and it could really, there's a lot of energy there. The projector and generator energy can really get into it, and the manifestor and projector energy is a totally different, forget gender, just the vibe in together is so. I
mm,
love that you're bringing this to your awareness in your work with parents and your work as a mom, and as you build your business and share more and more in your healing work, because I could imagine, in addition to using it in all of your work with families and children, I imagine it's going to start trickling into your healing work and your Barbara Brennan, your work in
yeah.
your studio,
Well,
and
it's all connected. Yeah. I mean,
together,
that's what
all
it's
together.
all
Can
connected.
I reflect to that?
Um, yes, please do. Please do.
Okay, so something very important that I did not say. Okay, something very important that I did not say about the manifester is how their aura functions. Now, I said the projector.
Oh.
Do you remember how the projector's aura functions? It's like it's projecting it. It's like my hands like going into you. It's like penetrating,
Right.
focused. The generator and manifesting generator is like enveloping. It's like this warm, open sort of vibe. People feel like, all right, it's cool, but like, whereas projectors are like, I'm noticing you and we're getting noticed. Like people notice us.
Mm-hmm.
So we might want to be
Mm-hmm.
like this, or other people might want to be like this. Like it's too much sometimes unless they say yes to it. Whereas, generators like chill. It's like it's chill. It's
Mm-hmm.
warm, it's
Mm-hmm.
vibey, it's enveloping. And like a hug. And manifestors, which you spoke to, you described it exactly. Their auras are repelling.
Oh.
I know. My mom's a manifestor. So it's like hard.
Mhm.
It's rough.
I
It's
love this.
repelling.
I love this because we were just talking
Unless
about this.
unless there's a resonant, unless people are like, oh, I get you, and they get us, and okay, we're gonna do this thing together. I'm informing you, and the other person's like, okay, yes. Like if a manifestor informs a projector and the projector's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll get on board. Or like the generator responds because they feel their energy is in line. Okay, generator's gonna respond. Okay, yeah. But if a manifestor's like, I'm informing you that I'm gonna tweeze your eyebrow right now. I'm informing you that. And the person's like, no, you're not. And the manifestor's like, yep, that's what's happening. It has to happen. I'm gonna do it. That's there's like the manifestor is very clear in what they want to do. And it can be so kind of aggressive and it's repelling. The word is repelling, unfortunately.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we were talking about this morning. So, this weekend is the homecoming dance. And this week is like spirit week at school. So you dress, it's like yesterday was pajama day and today was decade day. And in order to dress as like in the decade of the early 2000s, she bought this velour sweatsuit, which she's
Ooh,
usually wearing like really baggy t-shirts and like big
right.
baggy Carhartt pants. But she went to school today in this like sleek black velour sweatsuit. And her father said to me, she got out of the car to go to school, and he said she had this moment of like she stepped out of the car and then she like touched her clothes and looked back in the car like she was about to get back in the car, maybe not go to school. But then, but then she like moved through it and she went to school. So then I said, well, like maybe someone will ask her to go to the homecoming dance this weekend because she's looking like she might be a little more inviting to the,
Correct.
and
open the aura a little.
And my husband and her father was like, no. Actually, she like he basically described her as being repelling. He was like, she really kind of has this stance, this constant stance that is like, back up, I might kick the shit out of you. Like, back up. No, I'm not dealing with your shit. And so he was, and so my nephew who's here with me today was like, he's like, I guarantee there is a heap of guys at that school who want to ask her to that dance and they wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare ask her.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. I know. I feel for the boys because she's beautiful and repelling. And when she's ready to let the person in, she'll open the door. She's got the heart center. She, let my love open the door. But only her love can open the door. Okay, it's not like someone else's admiration. Okay, because she gets to inform. It's not about someone else inviting her to the dance. She might inform. You know what? I've heard that you are interested in me. I'm informing you that you're taking me to the dance. Okay. Maybe it's like that. I don't know.
Thank you to my daughter's chart. Any last? I mean, we have really. We dove into this. It was so juicy. I know there's more to learn here, but I love the clarity of this map. Yes. It really is like this map or this blueprint to really understanding. It's like when you want to know how, when you see like I right now I'm thinking of like the movies or shows where they want to like escape from prison and they need to get the blueprints of the prison in order to know like where
escape the third dimension. Where's the human design blueprint? I know. So, okay, quickly, because it's in my awareness right now. Human design is really about relationships. As you can see, the centers are defined based on the channels between two centers, right? So her throat and her spleen are defined because of the channel 4816. In the same way, next time we talk about human design, let's look at the composite charts so that we can see the new auric being, the new form, the new energy being that's created by the penta of you and your children and your husband. So
I
When
love
three
that.
to five or more come together, there's a new consciousness that forms, and the consciousness of the penta takes over. And I'm sure
Mhm.
you feel that, and I'm sure people listening feel that in their families. There's this energy that takes over. You're like, hey, like I talked to myself and I told myself, like, when this happens again, I'm gonna react this way and it's gonna be like this, and I'm really gonna be different. And then this like energy of the system takes over. So
Mhm.
I'd like to go to that next,
Oh, I love
because
that.
just like the relationships between the centers are what defines our chart, the relationships between our charts is what defines the energy of our families and the energy in our homes and that.
I
Um,
love that, because, so much of my work, so as I explained earlier on, I look
yeah,
at the anatomy of the human energy field and the chakra system as a bridge connecting our mental and emotional health to our physical health. And
right,
then we take what we learn about how we habitually run our energy and how that then creates a new, just like you're saying, like this new energetic expression of the
yeah,
relationship. And there's so
yeah,
much we can do to really consciously understand how our energetic patterns then combine with our partners or our children's or our family members, our loved ones, or even strangers on the street for that matter, or clients in the healing room, or people we're working with, coworkers, that when those energetic patterns combine, this whole new thing is created. And we can actually bring a conscious expression to our energetic system in order to then impact that energetic relationship. And that's a lot of what I teach around how adults can be with children in a really intentional way.
mm,
Both both by creating the physical environment, which is what we do a lot as Montessorians, but also by creating the energetic environment. And
yeah,
that's so much of like that water we swim in, or um,
mm,
that space that really creates um, the vibe. And that's how I've been describing it a lot. It's like it's the vibration that we
it's
create.
literally,
It's the
mhm,
vibe. And people, now that's such a common expression that people
yeah.
use. They're like, "Oh, I
And
didn't
your
like
vibe
the
attracts
vibe
your
in there."
tribe, right? Your
Yeah.
body chart attracts your tribe because your vibe attracts your
Oh,
tribe. It's
I love that.
wild. And I'm
Mhm.
so glad that you said what you said, because I fell in love with this system because I love nature. So this is a way of understanding, you know, we can be fluffy and be like, oh, we feel energy, and like, you've gone deep into understanding what the aura is, not just like talking about the aura, but really deep into understanding how the energetics of the body works. 4 years of study plus continued on after that and before that. And in a similar way, on my own, as I like to do it and follow my own authority and teach myself as an autodidact, gone into I've studied systems, natural systems, urban farming, and external nature. And now I'm going deep into this internal nature. And this system is this it's an energetic map to the internal environment. And so thank you for saying that, because we're preparing, like Montessori taught us. We're both Montessori trained teachers and taught in classrooms. We prepare the outer environment, and we learned we have to prepare the teacher, we have to prepare the directress, right? We have
Yeah.
to prepare our inner environment. And how can we
Mm.
prepare our inner environment without knowing what our design is? How can we prepare ourselves to release conditioning? How can we release conditioning? Like, to me, preparing the environment is clearing conditioning. But how can I
Mhm.
clear
Yeah, and
conditioning
getting
if I
closer
don't know
to
what? Yeah,
that self. Like, how do we get to the
yeah.
expression of the self? Yeah.
And so you don't need human design. It's just a system. One could get to this awareness from meditation, deep observing of self. I could look through my notes over my
Mhm.
lifetime and see, oh, this is when this works. Oh, I got that job because someone just invited me in, and it was like totally in a different way than other people got it, for example, right? But just preparing the inner environment understanding the inner nature is so important to me, because I know for myself, when I'm in alignment with, when I am following my design, in what I mean is when I'm listening to myself, and when I'm acting in my life from a place of serving my true self and being at ease in myself, it brings greater ease on the outside. It brings more ease to me when I'm in that flow. But when I'm pushing against my own design, and I'm hoping that this is like this, or I'm pushing myself to be a generator, or I'm going out initiating like a manifester, I'm in misery and in bitterness. And then the world doesn't get me either, you know? And so I'm so grateful that we, two projectors, 224 projectors, have come together to bring this awareness to your community and to my community, so that we can nurture our nature and nurture our children and nurture ourselves. It's just
Yes.
awesome.
Oh,
So
thank you
yeah,
so much.
it's
Yeah,
different.
this
And
has
your
been
children
so
and you get
special.
to be who you are. Your daughter gets to be a manifester. She is not a manifesting generator at all. So
Mhm.
different. And your son can look at her and admire her splenic knowing and have no idea what that feels like. And that's okay. And you can guide them
Mm,
when they invite you, um, from this place of knowing and trusting that they have a unique design that they can rely on,
mm,
that they don't need mom to fix, or
mhm.
um, you know, do anything but appreciate. And yeah, and what you said, Anna, I feel like is the most beautiful, and we could close our recording with this idea, is that when the mother and the parent is in the self, when we understand our inner nature and our human design, our astrology, and anything else that we want to bring into understanding ourselves, that which makes us who we are, and when we're in ease in that, taking that deep breath in, that beingness of that, then our children feel safe to follow who they are. And it just, it's so much nicer.
Yes. Yeah, and then we're inviting in that ease and that peace, and that joy that we're longing for, because
Yes.
ultimately that is what we're wanting. And so often, um, we're in a that in unawareness as to how much we're um, kind of fighting against just being in that natural flow. So I really appreciate, Nina, how you bring in the nature and our inner nature, and just um, following that flow of and the evolution, because I also know that we're all growing and changing and evolving, and if we can do that alongside our nature and in service to our nature,
Mhm.
that's
Yes.
where that's where we can find that effortless the
Mhm.
effortlessness of it all, and evolving doesn't have to feel like hard work. It can
Yes.
just be in alignment, and um so that's what I'm
That's not
longing
all.
for, and I'm calling in all the others who are longing for that too.
Yes, we are
Nina and
calling.
I and many others, we're here just waiting for the invitation, and we can't wait to support you. So
This
look.
was so, so fun.
Yeah,
It
and
felt effortless because I decided to show up because I trust Anna, because I'm like, I'm just hanging out with Anna.
mm,
Like, this is, we could
mm,
just hang out. And you know, I think that we just all get to show up as we are, and just trust that our design and our fellow humans can hold us, and we don't have to try to be all the things or be what we think we need to be. We can just be what we are. That's enough. And I know people
I-
say that, but it really is enough. When we look at our charts, we can see that we are enough as we are. And all those things that felt like, wait, I think I'm supposed to be like this, or I'm supposed to do that. That was just that conditioning. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, hey, I get to just show up. I don't need to be perfect. I don't need to look perfect. I don't have to have the internet perfect. I don't have to have the notes perfect, because me as I am is what is needed right now. And
Yeah.
you, Anna, as you are, is what is needed right now. And our children as they are. And you know what? Fighting is okay. How about that? We can, and we can share that at the end too. Like, it's okay to be different and to have friction
Mm-hmm.
and to grow from that and to learn how to fight well instead of avoiding conflict. Like, can we have
I
conflict well?
love.
I'm
Yeah.
learning that with design as well with my daughter. So,
I love that.
um,
There's so much energy in that,
yeah,
and that's yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
thank
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for
thank
hearing
you.
the invitation
It's
and
so great.
for accepting it. And it's always impossible to say goodbye to you. So we'll just end it now and we'll say until
Okay.
we meet again.
Until we meet again. Thank you so much, everyone who joined. This was a great pleasure. I hope it has been useful to all of you. See you again soon.